Good day, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Memory Palace podcast. I am Luis. Before anything else, I would like to call my co-host Vince to join us for today's session.
Thank you, Luis. First of all, I would like to apologize if our audio is not clear because some of us are having technical issues during this session. Sit back, listen carefully, relax, and I hope you get to learn something. I just want to acknowledge all the speakers that are present here today. You guys can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Dani Marie Pampulme.
Hi, my name is Jana Mariano.
Hi, I'm Yasmin Hartobando.
Hi, my name is Cristel.
Good day, fellas. I am Johanna Austria.
Hi, I'm Arnold de Guzman.
Hi, I am Bianca Monique Domingo.
Hi, I'm Roberto.
Hi, I'm Elmer A. Rivera Jr.
Hi, I'm John Energy San Juan.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll get to you in a while, so you guys can turn off your camera muna. For now, me and Luis will be talking. For today's episode, we will be doing a book review to Miss Maria Rosa Henson's Comfort Women. In my opinion, the book itself, it's kind of heavy. Medyo sensitive din yung topic niya since it tackles about rape and violence. So I would like to advise everyone while listening na it's gonna be sensitive and baka trigger warning for everyone. Luis, take the spotlight.
Thank you, Vince. So, as we celebrated the International Women's Month, let's give honor to all women around the world. Sakto, it is related to the book that we will reviewing today. Let us not forget those women who were involved in the system and comfort women during Japanese era. So, ayan, let's proceed for the first background of the author.
Ayun, happy International Women's Month, guys. I would like to honor the author of this book, Maria Rosa Henson, another brave woman who, despite all the pain and suffering, she still had the strength to tell us her story and to make us not forget what happened. Henson was born in 1927. She's an illegitimate daughter of a landowner and a member of a Balahap. At an early age, we can see na she suffered by being a child of wedlock, which obviously is such a big deal nung time nila. Especially nag-aaral pa siya sa Catholic school in Pasay. The war was declared on December 5th, 1941, when Rosa was only 14 years old. Tapos, her family flew to Bulacan to escape the Japanese troops na nagland in Manila. Ayun, she's also one of the women na naging victim nga ng sex slavery noong time nila. Ayun. Sadly, she died of heart attack on August 18, 1997. And before that naman, she was the first Filipina to reveal her story on September 18, 1992.
What an interesting and heartbreaking story of the author, no? At the same time, kasi grabe rin pala yung pinagdaanan niya. And hindi ko rin ina-expect na isa pa pala siya sa victim doon.
Yeah.
So, let's proceed. Let's talk about comfort women. So, comfort women, which is a term for euphemism for women in the Japanese colony of Korea and enemy territory of the Philippines, Taiwan, and Indonesia who were abducted from their homes, herded to comfort situations, and repeatedly raped by the soldiers. Grabe, no? Paulit-ulit pala sila nire-rape ng mga Japanese soldiers.
Oh.
Ang ano pala nun? Grabe. Okay. The incident happened between 1942 and 1945. More than 60 years after the Pacific War, sex slavery was the point of crime which the author was a victim, and other 100K to 200K Asians and 80s from Korean. Grabe talaga yung incident na yon. Imagine, years sila nag-suffer yung mga kababaihan para sa ikasasatisfy ng mga Japanese soldiers. So kailangan talaga, deserve nila ng honor kasi sinacrifice sila yung sarili nilang dignidad. As in yung buong pagkatao nila, di ba, Vince?
Yeah. After reading the book, I really felt sick about what happened after knowing the story, and yon yung story nga ni Rosa din and other women. Medyo ang bigat agad kahit sa introduction pa lang ng libro, which was written by Yuki Tanaka. Doon, sa part ng introduction ng book, which they explained the history of it, how and why it happened. Tapos parang they gave several reasons nga as to why they established such a system. Tapos, for me, parang ang funny lang, hindi siya funny in a way na it's just funny to think na they would give such reasons pa para sa ginawa nila. Like, I feel like it's unreasonable at the first place. So, ayun. So, still we have to tackle this. First reason is to reduce nga the rape of civilians in China. It's not justifiable. Second reason naman is nakakagalit. Ito nakakagalit since yung mga leaders, they believe na importante daw to gratify yung carnal desires ng men soldiers nila, which alam mo yon, they have to satisfy yung sexual desire ng mga soldiers. Yun, medyo sick in a way. Ganun yun, lalo na yung tingin nila sa women na parang some kind of toy na they can just get off to. Ganun. So, medyo ang low ng reason. Again, yun, not a good reason to create such system. Sobrang unjustifiable nga, as I said. Third naman, para hindi kumalat yung venereal disease or yung STDs. Ayun, ulit-ulit pero it still doesn't make sense since ang solution nila is to rape women to not spread sexual related disease. So, nagigets mo ba? Ang labo ng reason. And lastly naman, and lastly for their security reasons now, since nga yung private brothels sa China noon can be infiltrated by spies. So they created their own system, which is nga yung comfort women system. Yon, it's sad and disgusting in any form.
Diba parang ang babaw ng third reason?
Yeah. Actually, lahat ng reason nila para sa akin, hindi siya...
Tama ka dyan. Tama ka dyan, part. Ang babaw talaga niya. Grabe, no? Sobrang nakakaawa. Lalo na sa mga naging biktima. Nakakatakot din. Anyway, it's such a heavy topic talaga. And lalo na, we get hear from a victim, her life, and her story. So anyway, now let's proceed to the discussion. May I call on Almira, Dani, and Jasmine to discuss the chapter 1. So, girls, get ready.
Guys, we'll be leaving you muna ni Luisa. So, you guys can discuss.
Thank you, Luis and Vince, for that introduction. All right, I have two beautiful ladies with me. Let us welcome Dani and Almira.
Hi.
Ano naman kayo?
Hi, Yasmin and Almira. Okay naman, medyo busy na lately kasi malapit na mag-midterms. Pero anyways, how about you, Almira?
I'm actually stressed din sa schools but kinakaya naman. Ikaw, Yasmin?
Nahihirapan din ako sa midterms pero kayang-kaya pa. Okay, we have something to talk about today and saktong-sakto na Women's Month na.
Yes, this is like a girls' talk, diba? Happy Women's Month sa inyong dalawa and to all the women out there.
True! So, let's go straight to the topic. Since Vince and Luis mentioned comfort women, I have heard about the story of Julia's nightmare.
What happened to her was horrible. Hindi ko nga kinaya.
Julia's parents was having a difficult time raising their children kasi ang father nila ni Julia ay isang farmer sa Angeles, Pampanga.
Right, Julia's family was very poor.
Kaunti lang kasi ang salary ng nakukuha ng father niya sa pag-harvest ng rice. Pero I'm glad na nagtutulungan ang mga neighbors kahit na nagsasuffer sila from poverty.
That's true. And then one day, Don Pepe approached Alberto, Julia's father, if he can get Julia as their maid.
At this moment, habang nalalaman ko tong story, I am wishing na itatrato si Julia sa bahay nila Don Pepe ng mabuti.
Hindi lang naisip ko eh.
And then Julia's parents talk about it and nag-decide na pumayag sa offer ng landlord kasi no choice sila. And kahit ayaw man nila, iniisip pa rin nila na para sa ikakabuti ng pamilya. Then when Julia arrived at Don Pepe's house, it was her first time to see a huge sala at manghang-mangha siya sa sobrang laki at ganda.
Yes, and nagbigay ng advance payment si Don Pepe sa father ni Julia, which is Alberto. Every month, Julia gets 5 pesos as her salary.
In addition to that, Don Pepe was known for being a religious man. Kasama niya ang mga anak niyang pupunta sa simbahan. Pero hindi pa dyan nagtatapos ang kwento. One night, natutulog si Julia. However, she felt something na parang may humalik sa kanya.
Oh my! Don't tell me na tama ang hinala ko ah.
I'm sorry, but tama nga ang hinala mo. Si Don Pepe ang humalik sa kanya and he raped Julia.
What?
Ito ang hindi ko maintindihan eh. Kahit sobrang bait mo ng tao, makakaranas ka pa rin or tayo ng pababastos, nakaka-disappoint lang. Nakakainis pa ay Don Pepe treated her na wag sabihin sa parents niya ang nangyari.
Because if Julia tells her parents on what happened to her, may posibleng matanggal tatay niya sa trabaho.
Kaya nanahimik na lang siya and she got scared and can't even defend herself. She instead walked away.
Then one day, Julia requested Don Pepe's wife, Doña Saring, to visit her family. She enjoyed staying there. Then bago siya umalis, she told her parents about what Don Pepe did to her.
What did her parents say?
Her parents didn't believe her. Her father said na relihiyoso si Don Pepe at hindi niya magagawa yun.
2 years later, she is now a beautiful lady and it's just so adorable na young women makes harana to her.
I think it's always been a nice feeling when you have suitors and sinaserenade ka sa tapat ng house niyo.
I agree. She felt shame for the suitors knowing that someone took her virginity. She became hesitant if he would encourage the guy. After a few days, she got upset because of her father's condition. And Alberto got diagnosed with pneumonia. The doctor said Alberto can't work on the farm again. Julia kept crying until her mother came and opened up a conversation about accepting Don Pepe's plea. Ayaw niya ang idea na yon, pero her mother wanted to obey her.
Oh my, as much as I want to obey my mother's commands, if they are forcing me na gawin or tanggapin ng isang bagay na ayaw ko, nakakainis yun.
I agree. Mas better pa rin if they will respect your decision and at the same time, you will still know your limits as a daughter or son.
But then, kahit lumaban na siya at nagsalita ng feelings niya, she chose to stay silent after Carmen, her mother, whispered and said that it was for her own good. Julia noticed na na-delay ang period niya ng 2 months. She also felt weak and sick. She then discovers na she's pregnant. And guess what? Her parents were glad because that means patuloy na susuportahan ni Don Pepe si Julia and her family. He also told her family that he is in love with Julia.
I can't process what happened to her anymore. I am disappointed with her parents. I also hate the fact that her parents let Don Pepe take Julia with him.
She experienced a lot of pain and trauma, yet she sacrificed herself para masuportahan yung pamilya niya.
The story doesn't end there. When Julia is living with Don Pepe, something unfortunate happens. He raped Julia again.
Just can't understand why people do that. It's disgusting.
Yeah, like what's gotten in their minds? Saan nagsisimula yung urge nila to do it?
Totoo.
And then one day, gusto ni Don Pepe na patirahin ng pamilya ni Julia malayo sa lugar nila. Since the people living there were curious about Julia. Ayaw malaman ni Don Pepe ang ginagawa nila.
Ay, what a pity. Para lang itago ang ginawa niya.
True. Then they eventually lived in Pasay with Don Pepe's money para mapalayo sila Julia sa una niyang pamilya.
Anyway, moving forward, the life of Julia kept on going. However, she is carrying a wonderful angel. Pinanganak niya ang kanyang anak noong December 5, 1927. Julia felt sad and had a hard time giving birth. Pero napalitan ang saya niya nung makita niya ang kanyang anak.
At nakakalungkot because she had a child with a man she didn't even love.
Siyempre, you have to build a family with love and not with forced love.
I agree. And Don Pepe wasn't there when Julia gave birth. Hindi niya pa nakikita ang anak niya pero sumulat na siya ng isang papel with the name of a girl.
That's when they named their daughter Maria Rosa Luna Henson. After 6 months, he visited Rosa and felt happy.
And despite her not being happy with Don Pepe, she is still glad for the baby. And then, when Rosa was already 3 years old, she saw her father.
Rosa didn't want to go to him?
Right. Nonetheless, Don Pepe was still happy to see her, and every 2 months, they would go and visit her father. In addition, he continued to support Julia and her family on their finances, lalo na nakadepende sa kanya ang mga kapatid ni Julia dahil mga walang careers.
However, Don Pepe's financial support became inefficient. It was harder for Julia, especially Rosa need to go to school already.
Absolutely. It came to a point na walang school supplies si Rosa. Nonetheless, yung mga classmates and teachers niya, tinulungan siya. One day, his father asked her about her school. Rosa answered him honestly and said that she is having a hard time because she and her mom were poor. One time, Rosa discovered that her father has another family. She found out that she is a illegitimate child. Her heart broke into pieces because of that. Isa pa, nilalait siya ng mga classmates nga, saying na, you just sprouted from the soil.
Her classmates were very insensitive.
It also breaks my heart because her childhood was painful. I can't digest any sorrowful stories about them.
Her pain kept tearing her apart, and when her father refused to let her stay in his big house in Angeles, Pampanga, ayaw makita ng family ni Don Pepe si Rosa. She felt sad even more when her father threatened her na di na sila magkikita kapag nakita siya ulit ng mga anak ni Don Pepe.
I felt bad for Rosa. Ang dami na niyang naramdamang pain kahit bata pa lang siya.
True. At least she got to know where her grandparents lived before. Rosa experienced celebrating special events in her grandmother's residence. One day, her grandmother became ill because of her stomach ulcer. Unfortunately, namatay siya.
What a piece of sad news. I think Don Pepe paid for the burial expenses.
Ay, totoo ka dyan, Yasmin. From all the situations she encountered, she had a very traumatic and painful childhood.
And she did everything para lang mabuhay. Her source of income is embroidery, knitting, and sewing. Her number one strength was her strong mother.
Yes, and even though her original dream was to be a doctor, she kept striving. She graduated and became the class valedictorian.
Her mother's words were touching, and Julia's mother was good to her. Kayo ba, ano yung insights niyo sa relationship ni Rosa and Julia?
It made my heart melt because despite the heavy trials they went through, Julia, as a mother, supported her daughter. On the other hand, Rosa was responsible and kind daughter.
I loved their relationship because Julia thought that Rosa was still a blessing to her, and Rosa is always there to take care of her mother. They didn't leave each other's sides.
Indeed, guys. Anyway, to wrap it up, ano yung mga final thoughts and opinions nyo about kay Julia and sa mga naranasan na? Kasi, para sa akin, I believe na as a woman, she should stand up on her own. Capable siya of making her own decisions, and dahil sa pagiging under control kay Carmen, nawawala yung right niya na yun.
Agree ako dyan. Kayo ba, anong gagawin nyo if kayo si Carmen? Hahayaan nyo na lang ba yung anak nyo na gawin yun para sa pera?
I believe hindi. Mas pipiliin ko na maging masaya at mabuhay ng mapayapa yung anak ko kaysa ipilit siya sa taong di niya mahal at paulit-ulit siyang ginagahasa. Para sa akin, masakit isipin na may ganong mga nanay na hinahayaan ng mga anak nila para lang sa pera.
Julia is such a selfless and loving person, and I believe she doesn't deserve all the pain that she has experienced. She deserves to be treated a whole lot better.
To add, yung mga gantong scenarios kasi prevalent pa rin siya sa society natin eh. Dapat tanggalin na natin yung mga ganitong problema, katulad ng mga sapilitang kasal at mas focus sa mga women empowerment.
Alam niyo guys, I certainly agree with you. Kasi sobrang disheartening yung mga ganong situations talaga eh. Anyway, I believe that we should introduce our next speakers already. Let's give the floor to Capio, Domingo, De Guzman, and Austria.
So hi everyone. So this chapter is titled The War Begins, and it will give us a glimpse of the life of Maria Rosa Henson during World War II, or the Japanese occupation in the Philippines. So Arnold, handa ka na ba?
Oo naman, Bianca.
Good. So Arnold, according to Maria Rosa, how was life during the Japanese settlement in the Philippines?
Okay, so base sa libro na isinulat ni Maria Rosa, ang Second World War ay nagsimula noong binomba ng Japanese troops ang Pearl Harbor. 3 days after her 14th birthday noong December 5, 1941. Noong December 9, 1941 naman, Rosa, her mother, relatives, and neighbors evacuated the village near Ipu Dam in Bulacan. Hirap nga ng buhay noon, talagang may 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew silang pinapatupad kasi pinaparusahan sila ng Japanese soldier kapag hindi sumunod. At Bianca, ito pa, bawal sila gumamit ng ilaw noon kapag gabi kasi maaari silang pagbintangan ng guerrilla.
Grabe pinagdaanan niyo, no? Imagine at such a young age of 14, talagang she suffered a lot. Nanakaw sa kanya yung karapatan para makapag-aral at mamuhay ng normal bilang teenager. Naalala ko tuloy bigla yung war between Ukraine and Russia ngayon. And hindi ko lubos maisip yung hirap na pinagdadaanan ng mga tao ron. Lalo na yung mga bata. Kasi of course at their age, they are supposed to enjoy life. Like to attend school, to hang out with their friends, not to fear for their lives. Okay, down to the next discussion. How is the relationship of Rosa with her father?
Well, kahit na anak sa labas si Rosa, she greatly appreciates and loves his father very much. In fact, when World War II broke out, Rosa was so worried about her father since Don Pepe was very old during that time. Maalahanin at supportive ang kanyang ama kahit na illegitimate child siya. Kaya ganun na rin yung pagmamahal niya kay Don Pepe.
Dadako na tayo sa isang napaka-sensitibong topic. Pag-uusapan natin yung first rape experience ni Maria Rosa. So what happened was, Maria Rosa joined his uncles to make extra money by getting firewood from Fort McKinley. Ang kaso, habang hinahanda niya yung bundle ng panggatong na ibebenta nila, 2 Japanese soldiers ang humablot sa kanya. And someone shouted baka, and isa siyang Japanese curse word. At ang akala nga noon ni Rosa ay yung Filipino term natin na baka, which is yung hayop. Pero lately niya lang na-realize na isa nga siyang Japanese curse word. Yung sigaw ay nanggaling sa isang Japanese soldier na lumapit sa kanila at sinampal yung 2 soldiers na humawak sa kanya.
Oo, grabe Bianca, no? Akala niya ang ililigtas siya nito, pero siya pa yung unang nanglahasa sa kanya. Nung matapos siya, pinasa niya si Rosa sa 2 pang sundalo para gahasain siya ulit. After that, iniwan lang nila si Rosa. Her genitals bled and ached so much, hindi siya makatayo. Buti na lang ay may dumaan isang farmer at dinala siya sa kanilang kubo. Nagstay siya roon for like 2 days at muli nang umuwi sa kanilang bahay.
Habang binabasa ko yung libro, nakakaramdam ako ng galit at panlulumo. Kasi of course, katulad ni Maria Rosa, babae rin ako. Hindi ko ma-imagine yung trauma at emotional damage na dinulot nito sa kanya. No woman deserves that. Women is not an object na pwede lamang paglaruan at bastusin ng kalalakihan kung kailan gusto nila. Nakakalungkot nga na hanggang ngayon ay laganap pa rin yung rape culture. The society is never safe for women talaga. Anyways, Arnold, what are your thoughts naman about Maria Rosa's forming an alliance with the Hukbalahap?
Okay, base na rin sa reading sa chapter 3, despite the danger being with the Hukbalahap, it was still very exciting for Rosa to help sa iba't ibang miyembro ng Hukbalahap. Organization assigned her to collect food, medicine, and clothes for the guerrillas. With the Hukbalahap, Rosa was aware of the danger that might happen to her. Despite that, talagang pumayag siya na maging miyembro because she was angry at what happened.
Yes, her bravery was commendable. She is indeed the brave woman who fights for what is right. Women are simply amazing, no? Kaya abante babae. And for our next discussion, Arnold, pwede mo ba kaming bigyan ng short discussion about General MacArthur?
Sure, Bianca. After the fall of Bataan on April 9, 1942, General MacArthur, who led the American defense on the Philippines, fled to Australia from Corregidor on board a submarine with President Manuel L. Quezon and other government officials.
Anyways, after nila umalis papuntang US, nagkaroon naman ng Death March, wherein the Japanese troops first captured Filipino and American soldiers to walk from Maribeles, Bataan to the train station in San Fernando, Pampanga. From there, they boarded trains bound for Camp O'Donnell in Capas, Tarlac.
Grabe, no? It was just painful and pitiful to think how the Filipino and American soldiers suffered during the Death March. Imagine, nagmamarcha sila for 5 to 10 days. Di walang tubig, pagkain at pahinga. Kahit sino ay nangihina sa ganon, dagdag mo pa yung init at tirik ng araw.
Now, down for our last discussion. Ano nga ba ang meaning behind the Hook Balahap song?
Okay, the Hook Balahap had the song with the lyrics in Pampango. The song represents a group that was formed to fight the abusive Japanese soldier, to free the country from slavery and encourage everyone to join together and fight the Japanese. Ang kantang ito ay nagre-representa on how the oppressor shattered everyone kung paano sila naghihirap, pumatay ng walang kamuang-muang na mga tao at nanggagaasa ng kababaihan na katulad ni Maria Rosa. Dito na rin nagtatapos ang kabanatang ito. Again, I am Arnold.
And I am Bianca. Thank you for listening, everyone. Now, let's proceed to the next chapter, calling the attention of Roberto and Johanna.
Hello, hello. Ako ba ay naririnig ng sangkatauhan dyan? Oh, ayan.
Ayan.
So, grabe no yung mga narinig natin. Alam mo yun, sobrang sa puso na, hala, ba't nangyari yun, di ba? Tama. Yes. So, to lighten up the mood, no, magpapakilala ako. So, ganito yan. Kailangan ko ng thoughts mo dito, Roberto, ah. Ready ka na ba?
Go.
Okay. So, good day, fellas. I am Johanna Austria, ang magbibigay sa inyo ng impormasyon na tapat at totoo at hindi kayo paasahin dahil ako ay from BS Med Bio na nagmamahal ng totoo. Oh, grabe! Tama ba? Ba't walang reaction? Oy,
Tama.
hindi ka ba approve?
Tama. So, ayun. Ulit ko, ako si Roberto at yun nga, i-discuss namin ang chapter 4 ng Comfort Women ni Maria Rosa. Yun. So, simulan natin, Joanna.
Okay, so that one was just to lighten up the mood. Pero sige, I'll give you guys, it's a trigger warning kasi this is the most sensitive part of the whole story. So, ayan. So, for this chapter, we will talk about how Maria Rosa's life was at that time when she was captured as a comfort woman. So let's start off na, no? So based on the past chapters na narinig natin sa other members just from a while ago, we've seen how it was actually very cruel to live at that time, na yung women's rights talagang affected siya, no? Nakikita natin. So it's like through her eyes, we get to see and feel all of what happened to her, diba? Habang binabasa natin, nararamdaman natin yung sakit, yung lungkot, sa mga nangyari. So, it actually gave me so much goosebumps na all throughout. So, this chapter, it was just very sad and infuriating at the same time. So, it went like this, no? It was from one morning in April 1943. As usual, due to strict policies being implemented at that time, may mga checkpoints kada baryo. O parang tulad lang nung natin ngayon, na-experience natin this pandemic, right? Nung lockdown. The Japanese soldiers are taking guard of the place so no one from the other barrios or barangays or kung ano man tawag natin doon can pass through or whatever that may threaten their pamamahala over the place. So, nung time na yon, they showed the soldier a pass specifically meant for their barrio. So parang ano natin yun, no? Yun yung quarantine pass natin nung this pandemic. So with that, they showed nga yon, and then quarantine pass natin siya, for example, and then he checked the sack of corns na kinuha nila kasama yung mga hook comrades ni Maria Rosa. And then with that, they were able to pass through. And ano yon, halos hindi pa sila nakakalayo. Yung soldier, tinawag na siya. Like, siya lang mismo, di ba? Tatlo sila doon pero siya lang yung tinawag. So, naisip ni Rosa na was it because of the sack of corn na may laman na ammunition and guns at that time na minagal nila papasok dun sa barrio. Pero, not knowing that it will be the start of an unfortunate event that will scar her for life. Ito yung part na sobrang nakakalungkot, to be honest. So, when she was walking back nung sa checkpoint, she had the thought that if the guns were safe and she was alone, then maybe there is this possibility that they might, trigger warning, rape her. Yun. So, she was led to this very specific place, parang building ata siya na it used to be the town hospital noon. And there were also 6 other women inside. And by the next morning, it was just hell for her and the other woman. Kasi, from the way she described it, na may soldier doon na came in and without any warning, he just tear off her dress and raped her. And then a few more soldiers came in and took turns raping her all in quick succession, one after the other, that she felt so much pain and very weak by the next morning that it happened. So,
nung nabasa ko ito, parang napatulala ako ng ilang beses, parang ang hirap isink in yung nangyari sa kanya.
This part just actually got me off board. Like, I cannot even utter a word while I was reading it. Talagang sobrang, alam mo yun, all I can feel was a stinging pain in the chest. Ano yun na, parang nandun yung awa, nandun yung galit, nandun yung inis. Alam mo yun, yung gusto mong sumabog pero wala kang magawa kasi binabasa mo lang na parang gusto mo siyang tulungan pero wala ka at that time. So yun, as a woman myself, I actually felt very afraid for her. Na from that moment of shock and then able to do anything was just so cruel. Like being helpless lang, grabe. And it was so unbelievable na how these Japanese soldiers have shown no mercy or awa just to please themselves and fulfill their needs. Like why, diba? What was it for? And why women? And the fact that Rosa was just 15 years old at that time, it just makes it a lot more worse than it already is. So iniisip pa lang natin, di ba? 15 years old pa lang yung bata. It was just a vulnerable kid being used like a toy at that situation wherein she should be living her life outside of the war, like what a kid must do. Na she should be playing around, going to school, spending time with her family, or whatever na anything to build herself up. Pero wala, na-degrade lang siya lalo. Talagang sirang-sira. It's just sad how things ended up like that for her.
So yun nga, makikita rin natin dito yung yung toxic fragility ng masculinity ng mga Japanese male soldiers. May instances na kapag hindi nila na-meet yung standards sa kanila regarding their sexual acts, they will vent out their frustration and anger to women, especially yung nangyari kay Rosa or Bara, yun nga tawag sa kanya ni Tanaka.
Yes, true.
In the book, dito nga sa chapter 4, nakaranas si Rosa ng ilang suntok, sabunot at bugbog mula sa mga humalay sa kanya dahil lang sa nabigo silang gawin yung gusto nilang gawing karahasan at pamabasto sa kanya. And this happened multiple times. She even tried na magpusang loob na lang na sa pag-satisfy sa libido ng mga Japanese soldiers, pero nilipad ng palad yung mukha niya dahil naramdaman na naaagaw niya ang dominance. Men have a tendency to be mad when they do not dominate in a certain situation. And with these experiences, it is rightfully to address toxic masculinity in this part of our history where women have to unfairly endure their frustrations. However, this is not to justify their wrongdoings. I'm just expressing how it can make things worse. Bukod ang pangre-rapes nila sa concept ng toxic masculinity, they should be accountable. They are rapists not because of women. They are rapists because they are rapists. This is just another perspective in that matter. Isipin na lang natin yung buong kasaysayan ng bansa na punong-puno ng mga kalalakihan na naka-instill sa isipan nila ang pagiging dominant. Ilang kababayan kaya ang nag-suffer sa pananakit at pamamahiya sa kamay nila. Also, this is not just for the Japanese men. We are aware naman na this is universal. Marami ng cases na ganito, especially dito sa Pilipinas. We have an unquestionable leader nga na sobrang pagpapalala ng idea na ito. Remember when Duterte married woman in front of many people sa Seoul, South Korea. And yung nag-viral na birthday video niya na hinaharas or sinusubukan niyang hipuan yung kasambahay niya, pina-perpetuate niya ang ganitong behavior which makes women be treated more as objects. Seeing how timeless this issue is makes me wonder doon sa ibang women na hindi nabigyan agad ng pansin, like Rosa, who have to endure it from thousands of Japanese soldiers as mentioned. Diba?
So ano namang like random question lang, anong thought mo regarding sa, since diba you're a guy, anong thought mo regarding sa women being treated as objects? Parang point of view lang, since you're the guy.
Parang sa akin, it's parang problematic mindset. Kasi we are lahat pare-pareho tayong tao, wala tayong pagkakaiba. Meron tayong purpose sa buhay. We should not be treated as objects. Para bang may buhay tayo. Hindi dapat tayo basta-basta tinatrato sa dahil lang sa gusto nila. Meron tayong karapatan ng mabuhay. Yun.
Yeah, tama. Men or women, kahit sino ka pa, kahit ano ka pa, being treated as an object is just a no-no. So, yeah. So, everything that you've said was just true. So, for this part naman, let's continue with the flow of the story. So, Rosa had an encounter again with the first soldiers that raped her. Dun sa from the past chapter na narinig natin na she was raped sa Fort McKinley by Captain Tanaka. So from that point, I thought that there was still someone that can possibly care towards these ladies who just experienced hell. That someone of a good heart can at least like stop what was happening. Yun yung parang pinapakita dun sa buong chapter na parang wow, parang like may possibility makaalis si Rosa, something like that. Pero as I was reading through it, he was still parang he was not able to do anything about it, like the situation itself. Like alam mo yun, may position ka na nandun ka na, tatakas mo na lang, di ba? Pero oo, yun nga so para kang for a situation para kang nakakita ng pagnanakaw dun sa malayong lugar, pero hinayaan mo pa rin yung magnanakaw makaalis and acted like you're not a part of it or a witness when you actually when you can actually do something about it. Like tapusin yung pangyayari na yun, pwede mo kunin yung magnanakaw or what, sumbong mo sa police, something, pero wala. Nandun ka na nandun na yung power, a possibility of stopping it. It was just really frustrating in all honesty. Even though all of that happened naman, I'm not taking pity of like Captain Tanaka's like yung mga ginawa niya, kasi nandun pa rin yung mindset na alam mo yon, I can still use Rosa nandun siya na even though he took part in Rosa's lifeline, like he was there whenever she needed help and took care of her when no one else does, but of course you're nandun pa rin, di ba? He still raped her, na kahit binasa mo siya the whole time, may part pa rin doon na ni-rape niya. Diba? He still took advantage of Rosa when he pitied her. Grabe, ano ba ito? Nakakabulol naman. Basta yun, nung naawa siya. Ayun. So, like, how ironic it is na naawa siya, pero nandun pa rin yung ginawa niya ulit sa kanya, yung nakakasakit dun sa taong kinaawaan mo. So what's the point, diba? And all of what happened at this part is just very sad. And how she thought of her mother every time she feels like giving up. And it's what kept her going on, diba? Na parang kahit nangyayari na yun sa kanya, talagang nandun yung thought na ano kayang iniisip ng mother ko? Inaisip kaya niya buhay pa ako, ganyan, something. Kaya grabe nakakalungkot siya sobra. So, there was this spark of hope that I thought would bring peace to her being, and then the suffering, like the whole time I was reading that very specific chapter, like through Captain Tanaka and his actions. Pero it was actually a wrong thought process kasi nga, like, 'di ba? Nabanggit ko nga kanina, kinaawaan mo, pero anong ginagawa mo? Wala ka namang ginagawa to end the situation itself. So ayun.
Nung hinalay siya ng isang Japanese soldier, nagkaroon siya ng malaria attack. Yung bigla siyang nanginig. Now, here's my assumption. Binigyan kasi siya ng 2 yellow tablets na and I think the reason why the tablet was not curing or aiding her malaria was because the tablet was for aborting the child that she conceived from one of her rapists. I do not know if this is accurate, pero ito lang yung na-conclude ko in that part. Tapos, however, nalaman pa rin naman ni Rosa na that she was almost a mother because of the Filipino doctor na nag-check up sa kanya dahil dinugo nga siya, resulting sa pagkalaglag ng anak niya sa sinapupunan niya.
We described Rosa's experience as rebirthed by the sufferings. When the Japanese colonel discovered and ruined their plan sa pagsunog ng Pampang. Yan yung sinabi ni Rosa dun sa parang isang kasamahan na
baryo.
Tama. And yun yung baryo nila Rosa. Pero ano nangyari? Binugbog siya. Ibinitin sa ere. Alam mo yun, parang gano'n. Basta yan. Grabe. Hindi ko talaga siya maisip.
Parang siyang ginawang karne sa palengke.
Oo, true.
Then, lumala na yung malaria ni Rosa at unti-unti na siyang nangihina. Fortunately, Captain Tanaka tried to give her a cup of tea to ease her suffering. Parang dito, we see now Captain Tanaka as a lesser evil. Pero, still evil because yun nga, he violated Rosa's body and innocence.
Tama ka dyan. And also, the colonel caught them. Like, at that moment na binibigyan ni Captain Tanaka si Rosa ng tea, na bigla niya na lang inumpog si Rosa doon sa iron wall ng rice mill. Kaya, na siya, like, she fell unconscious at that time. Pero at the end of her sufferings, dito yung time na umatake yung mga guerrillas sa garrison and
wala nung pagkatapos ng niya.
Tama, yan yun. Na parang it was still through her actions na made her na stopped her sufferings. Yun yung parang naging consequence. And after that incident, napadpad siya sa bahay ng pinsan ng nanay niya, which is si Ana, pinsan ng nanay niya. Tama. At doon na rin sila like muling nakapagkita. Ayun.
Tapos sa itong part na to, parang nagkaroon na ng liwanag yung sa buhay ni Rosa bilang bata. Parang nakakalungkot lang isipin na nagkaroon ng liwanag ang buhay niya imbes na meron na talaga. Nakataka siya sa dilim ng mga hapon on January of 1944. Ending her 9 months, katulad nga sabi mo kanina, ending her 9 months of sufferings, like the normal span of a baby in a womb. Thus, our description for this last part of the chapter, rebirthed by the sufferings. So, para naman sa next chapter, sa chapter 5, let us give the spotlight to Ibay and Rabara.
So, thank you guys for introducing us. So now, in this part of the story, we're gonna talk about Rosa's life after she suffered from being a comfort woman.
Hello, partner! Alam mo ba nangyari kay Rosa after niya makalaya sa kamay ng mga nagpahirap sa kanya?
Oo. Partner, 2 months nga din since she regained her consciousness. Tapos yung mother niya, nag-aalaga sa kanya.
Oo, partner. Nagsuffer din siya sa sakit na malaria attacks. Alam mo rin ba, partner, 1 taon din siya halos naghirap sa pagsasalita, pagsulat, at paglalakad. Kahit hirap na siya, nakuha niya pa rin ikwento sa mother niya yung nangyari sa kanya.
Grabe no, partner. Sobrang pagsisisi rin talaga na tinanggap niya yung mission na yun.
Meron pa, partner, alam mo ba, pati sariling mother niya, iniisip na baliw siya kasi she kept on muttering to herself na bakit hindi ako tumakas, baka patayin kasi nila ako. Yun. Sa sobrang takot niya, mismong self-confidence and self-respect niya nawala dahil sa mga taong akala niya ayaw sa kanya.
Ang saklap lang talaga, partner. Alam mo rin ba, partner, nagkaroon ng air flight ang mga Hapon laban sa mga Amerikano. Grabe nga ang mga Hapon noon.
Uy partner, eto last na. Bago tayo lumipat sa susunod na kabanata, alam mo ba na kinausap si Rosa ng mother niya na sinasabi sa kanya na makakatulong yung pagpapakasal upang makalimutan niya yung nakasalimuot na nakaraan. Sa dami ng hirap na dinanas niya, nanatili pa rin siyang matatag at kinakaya niya pa rin.
So ayun partner, doon lang naman nag-iikot yung chapter na yun. And before that, before we move on to the next chapter, may we call on our another speaker, which is si JB Sanuan. So, ayun guys, sa kabanatang ito, we've seen and felt the mother of Rosa, that she wanted to have a husband or someone she can live happily ever after. Take note guys, this is already chapter 6. Rosa already felt better. She already dresses herself and starts loving herself.
But there are a lot of circumstances na kinailangan i-consider ni Rosa about this topic, wherein she still holds to the traumatic experience where she was really devastated on what happened to her. Siguro andun yung thought na she only wanted to have children but not marriage. But her mother insisted that love will develop in due course.
To someone with a mother like that who really sees the best side in you out of all the tribulations that you have faced, she still wants the best for your future. And that is why she played a big part about Rosa's regaining her purpose in life.
Domingo, he is a young soldier na gustong makasama at magpakasal kay Rosa. Domingo also comes from a poor family from Alaminos, Laguna, and Domingo was the middle child.
Rosa did not want to marry Domingo. She only wanted kids and wanted to have a person that will take care of her when she gets older.
She didn't even had a wonderful, sex life. Kasi nga, every time they would do it, naalala niya lang yung mga ginawa sa kanya ng mga Hapon, especially si Tanaka. So doon pa lang, hirap na siyang labanan ng sitwasyon sa trauma. And that is the time na sinabi ni Rosa kay Domingo na he was raped by the Japanese. And staring at her at night while sleeping. And alam niyo yun guys, the cycle just goes on and on in her sleep.
Imagine being the same situation, no? So after agreeing to marry and live with Domingo, Lola Rosa decided to build her own family, which have resulted from for them having 2 kids. At first, hindi maganda ang naging experience niya sa pakikipagsiping kay Domingo. Since wala naman kasalanan ang kanyang asawa sa madilim niyang nakaraan, alam niya na hindi dapat ito maapektuhan.
Then she gave birth to Rosalinda, which was born on August 13, 1947. But partner, this part is not entirely about Lola Rosa having kids. His father dies while she was pregnant, and it turns out na anak siya because her father was married to another woman and has its own legal family.
Imagine gano'ng kasakit para sa bata na malaman na anak lang pala siya sa labas at walang buong karapatan sa kanyang ama.
Now, let's move on to the next, guys. Domingo insisted that he and Rosa should live in her mother's hometown in Santa Cruz, Laguna. And then, they will have a better life, a fresh start, a new beginning, and a chapter that's need to be done. So, partner, dito na nag-start na nakita ni Rosa yung love and effort ni Doming para sa kanya. Dito na siya pinagsilbihan, nagtatrabaho siya para sa pamilya nila, and most importantly, pinaramdam ni Doming how much love he has for the family.
Dito niya napagtanto yung sinabi ng mama niya, love will develop in due course. So there, she continued to be nice to him, to serve him, and to please him.
One night in June 1950, nakarinig sila ng loud knocks on the door only to find out that there were 5 armed men looking for his husband, Domingo. So apparently, their purpose to get Domingo out of there. So si Rosa rushed to her mother-in-law to say that kinuha nila si Domingo. Many days passed. Wala na siyang narinig na balita about sa asawa niya. And she was hopeless. Nag-umpisang mag-worry about their children. And alam nyo ba guys, she waited 5 months for nothing. So
ayun, dito natin ma-realize, partner, na grabe na talaga ang mga pangyayari sa buhay ni Rosa. And if I were her, I would be totally devastated. So back to the topic. On March 1951, her daughter Rosario got very sick. She was vomiting and all, so they rushed her to the nearest hospital. The doctor said that she only had a 50-50 chance for survival. So, ano ngayon ang ginawa ni Rosa? Knowing na she can't afford the bills sa hospital. So she went to her mother-in-law to tell everything about her daughter having illness. Dito pa lang, partners, kitang-kita natin yung hirap na dinadanas niya from time to time. Nakakalungkot na sa oras na natulungan na siya ng biyanan niya, another unfortunate stuff happened to her. She was approached by a 2 young man threatening her na wag daw siyang gumalaw at sumama na lang sa kanila na kung saan doon niya nakita ang isang magandang babae.
And this is the time na naglakbay sila for more than an hour just to be at their destination. And tama ka, partner, doon nakita niya ang isang magandang babae. Only to find out that Domingo married another woman. At the moment, partner, she did not feel any anger nor jealousy. Grabe, no? Nalaman mo ng may ibang asawa pero nanatili ka pa rin strong for your children. And Rosa only wanted to care for her children who has an illness, and she only wants to give her the medicine.
Lola Rosa was abducted by her own husband, raped, and molested. She again experienced the traumas of the past and became pregnant with her 3rd child. For this very reason, Domingo decided na patakasin siya at naging successful naman iyon. Afterwards, she decided to come back to her mom and live with her children.
Now we are getting closer to the end of the story. In this chapter, we are now going to talk about Rosa being a single mother, like her struggle and sacrifices to survive her family. Lahat na ng work gawin niya para maitaguyod ang pamilya niya. Imagine working ka for the whole day until the next day. If I were her, di ko kaya gawin yun.
Ang hirap na pinagdadaanan ni Rosa. Kasi look, she worked straight from 8 in the evening until 4 in the following morning. Si Rosa ay nakaranas din ng diskriminasyon nang dahil sa kanyang pananalita.
Grabe, paano kaya niya nakayanan yun? Like, ang hirap na nga ng buhay niya pero nakayanan niya pa rin itawid.
Yun nga ang nakakabilib kay Rosa. Kaya mahanga-hanga ako sa mga kababaihan eh.
Yung nangyari kay Rosa, hanggang ngayon ay nangyayari pa rin. Hindi lang sa work, pati na rin sa school.
Talagang kaya kalabaw siya para sa anak niya dahil siya ay solo parent.
And as far as I know, dito na rin nagsimula magkaroon ng maayos na trabaho, maayos na sweldo at maayos na pamumuhay si Rosa, ano?
1969, nagsimula tumaas ang sweldo at doon na rin nagsimula si Rosa ng bagong trabaho sa Quality Control Department.
Ayan, sige, tawagin na natin sila Johanna, JB at Arnold.
Ayan, okay. Thank you. Danny, Cristel, grabe, no? Chapter 8 na tayo.
Grabe!
Grabe. Anong naramdaman nyo? Like, grabe, ako hindi ko ma-digest. Grabe, kung ako yung makakaramdam nyo, parang sobrang hirap.
habang nagbabasa ka pa nga lang, parang parang roller coaster ride of emotions. May part ng lungkot, may part na nakikita mong nai-inspire ka kasi ganito yung ginawa niya. Ano yung mga ganon? Ayun.
Hanggang sa pagtanda mo, ganun naramdaman mo sa buong buhay. Sobrang sakit.
Para ba siyang mixed emotion, no?
True. Yes, tama ka dyan.
Tama. Okay. Umpisahan natin, chapter 8, no? Sige. Okay. Sa chapter 8, ano nga ba yung call na naganap through radio program para sa Comfort Women? In the morning of June 1992, while Rosa was hanging her laundry, mayroon siyang narinig na boses ng babae sa radyo talking about women who were raped and enslaved by the Japanese troops during the Second World War. After that, Rosa found out that the woman who was speaking on the radio was Lady Alejandra. September 3, 1992, it was Thursday, may isa pang babae nagsalita sa radyo at ang pangalan niya ay Nelia Sancho. Ito na rin yung naging daan para sumulat ng letter si Rosa. With Rosaria's reassurance, anak ni Rosa, then that was the time that she made up her mind and wrote a letter to the radio station addressed to Daki Paredes, host of the program. Sa mga sumunod na araw, September 10 naman, in the same program, sinabi ni Paredes kay Maria Rosa na tawagan si Lady o si Nelia.
From a very quiet and scared lady to a fearless, strong woman indeed. Siya rin yung naging dahilan for other comfort women to voice out their tragic experiences in the past. These people deserves both justice and compensation for all the hardships na dinanas nila nung tayo'y sinakop ng mga Hapon.
So, it is not enough because although the conference that she encountered might be tiring and stressful, it just shows na, na yung women, talagang nandun pa rin sila, na I can stand on my own, na I can be independent, na considering na traumatizing yung experiences niya as a sex slave or a comfort woman for the Japanese army, and pati na rin doon sa asawa niya, na talagang tinanggap siya ng buong buo, she became a hero herself by simply being courageous on telling everyone how important it is to voice out and be heard. Kasi story mo yun eh. Parang, di ba, makaka-inspire ka ng ibang tao. Hindi naman siya nakakahiya totally. Kasi it was not your choice to be in that situation itself, right? Di ba? So, let us not forget that this story na nabasa natin, kung hindi siya na-publish, hindi mapapakita yung parang background ng history, yung pinagdaanan natin. It was helpful na nagkaroon tayo ng point of view from Rosa's experience of being a comfort woman herself. So, doon natin naintindihan, doon tayo nagkaroon ng learnings na kung paano ang mga Filipino women, how they were suppressed or victimized by the perverted and ill minds of the Japanese army at that time. Like, di ba, what if hindi niya kwento yon? What if walang nag-stand up na sabihin yung story na yon? Eh di wala tayong background ngayon. Alam lang natin may comfort women pero hindi natin alam kung gaano kalala. Di ba? It is understandable naman totally sa part ng media to be questionable. Kasi may part doon sa story na a woman herself from the media just doubted her. 'Di ba? From kapwa babae mo na 'yan eh. 'Di ba? Hindi ka pa maniniwala. So moving on. Ayun na nga tayo.
If we apply to this contemporary generation, where various criminal activities are still prevalent, I would recommend that individuals should not be afraid to express their feelings, concerns, and sufferings that they are currently experiencing in order to each of them to be heard for the situation to be resolved. For those ladies who experience difficult times and has been victimized by rape or any other type of violence, be brave and stand up for yourself. You can do it. We know you can.
Tama so much. Ayan. So, dapat mga men and women, sino ka man, mag-ano ka man, di ba? Stand up for yourself and always be brave. Kasi, alam mo, kahit napakahirap niyan, na kahit anong mangyari, it was still the effort that counts. Na at least, di ba? Dito pa lang sa point of view natin, nakita natin yung pagiging courageous ni Rosa na may dinulot siyang mabuti, may dinulot siyang maganda. Di ba? So, habang nangyayari yung lahat ng yon, from the task force, from the different conferences that she attended to, there are also other women who experienced the same thing na nag-stand up for themselves as well. Na kahit man na nakikita natin yung both sides of the story na parang na dito mga taong to parang hindi sila naniniwala, itong mga taong to parang, 'di ba, nandun yung pagiging sympathetic nila, nandun yung part naman na pinagchichismisan sila na ay hindi ganyan. Sa tingin niyo, 'di ba? Parang doon yung nakikita yung hindi nawawala yung judgment kahit anong gawin mo, maging sino ka man, kahit mabuti yung ginawa mo, nandun pa rin yung part na 'di ba, na totoo ba yan, ganyan, nandun yung doubt. Rosa's point of view and her story na she really stood up for herself and for the story na panghahawakan niya. It actually contributed to the history. So ayun, and through that, they also filed a lawsuit regarding the compensation and apology for the comfort women itself, na kahit yun man lang maibalik sa kanila yung justice and everything na they were asking for forgiveness for what happened from the Japanese government at that time. And kahit man lang mabawi lahat nung pagkasira sa dignidad nila through this very lawsuit and agreement that they're filing for. Pero it turns out, wala pa rin silang nakuha. And it was all their hard work that got them there at that point of life na may peace na. The government had other plans and they disregarded the lawsuit. And it was still the government who benefited the most kesa sa kanila. So, ayun lang naman. So, into conclusion,
tama, 'di ba? Sa huli wala rin nagawa si Lola Rosa kung hindi ay tanggapin din ang nangyari sa kanya. Kahit na hindi ito katanggap-tanggap dahil ang tagal niyang lumaban for the justice, tapos sa huli wala rin talagang nangyari. Ganun lang 'yon. The apology and the compensation that they were demanding for was not given to them. And to imagine na ganun ang nangyari, sobrang sakit nun at nakakagalit talaga. Kasi parang hindi man lang sila binigyan ng pansin after all the traumatizing experience.
Ayun, we are done with our part for the last chapter. Thank you very much po. Now, let us give the floor once again kila Luis and Vince.
Ayun guys, thank you so much for the speakers for helping us review this book, and even we get to share to the audience the glimpse of the book and yung mga opinion natin while reading it. For me, I just want to share my experience while I went through this story. Ayun, as I mentioned earlier, before we start, it's a very heavy topic nga to tackle about, since it's about rape, violence, and a lot went on through the story. Tapos sobrang personal din siya if you get to read the whole story, kasi nga based sa life ng writer yung nangyari. Ayun, I felt sad for the people who were violated by that system. And at the same time, I felt angry. Yun, mixed emotion nga, sabi kanina. Ikaw ba, Luis, how was the experience while reading this?
Alam mo, Vince, ako, as a girl, as a women din, syempre, alam ko, yung nararamdaman ng kapwa ko babae, syempre, masakit naman talaga yung naranasan mga kababaihan nung victim sila ng comfort women, ganyan. Nagulat ako nung nalaman ko na isa pala siya sa victim, na akala ko sinulat niya lang yung book na yon to inform us, to give us lesson about comfort women. Pero hindi ko ina-expect na sinulat niya yon kasi based rin pala sa experience niya. And ayun, sana nakamit nila yung hustisya. Sana nakamit nila yon.
Yeah.
And
Actually, actually parang hindi nga in a sense kasi nga
hindi.
Yeah, in a sense like with what Hannah said earlier nga parang they weren't given the compensation na they were asking from the Japanese government. And at the same time, honestly, yung kwento na to starting pa lang kahit sa kwento pa lang ng mama ni Julia, like sobrang prevalent ng rape sa topic na to.
Yes,
sobrang nag-start pa lang from her mother na who were violated. Then, and ayun, it's sad to hear about that then.
Okay, and that's it for our today's podcast. Thank you so much, our beloved speakers, and for the listeners out there who got through this episode. So thank you so much.
Ayun. I just want to say Happy International Women's Month again. Shout out to all the women out there. You guys are the best. This is Vince and
this is Luis. And
the Memory Palace is now signing off. See you guys
See you next episode.
Bye.